Okay, so to repeat what we have done as of now, this we change the options first, and then we set up a calendar for the project, and then we give a start date and select the project calendar, and also decided that we're going to do forward planning or the backward planning. Then we defined a scope of the project, and then we enter the estimates for all the leaf tasks, that is the activities. So we give the estimates to the activities. Okay, the next step is to assign the dependency among these tasks. Okay, and when we talk about dependency or relationship between these tasks, there are 4 types of such dependency. First is finish to start, second is start to start, third is finish to finish, and fourth is start to finish. So finish to start is simple sequential dependency, that is a predecessor must finish for successor to start. So until this will not finish, this will not start. Okay. Now start to start means the predecessor and successor both can start at the same time. So here it is a must activity, here it is must dependency, this is a can dependency. So when we say it is predecessor must finish for successor to start, here the predecessor and the successor both can start at the same time. Means the successor may delay also depending upon the situation, but they can start at the same time. And same is finish to finish, that is predecessor and successor can finish at the same time. They may finish at the later date also, but this should be like the dependencies that can start at the same time. Okay, now with respect to start to finish dependencies, though it is there in the book, but I haven't seen any practical implementation of this dependency. That is, some activity is waiting to start for some other activity to finish. Means some activity will start, then this activity will finish. I haven't seen any practical implementation of such thing. So let's focus on FS, SS and FF. Your 90% of the time your dependency will be FS. You see, most of the time your project will be planned with FS, and in some circumstances we need to give SS and FF. So when we talk about this SS and FF, when it is SS and when it is FF. So when there is an activity called when there is a activity called B, and they have a simple dependency of sequence. Okay, now there is a C activity. Let me do it this way. This now let's do this activity. So A depends upon B, C, and B also depend upon C. So basically, if you see, A and B can start at the same time. Now this dependency can be defined like this also. right? So A depends upon C and B depends upon A with the start to start relationship. In the reverse case, if C is here, A is here and B is here. So this is C, this is A and this is B, right? And you have a relationship like this. C is waiting for input from A and B both. In this case, we can also say this like this. Right? So A, B and A with the dependency called F. So A and B should finish. C depends upon A, but A and B should finish at the same time. Or this may not be this right, may not be this is like this may not be the right case. This is better. That the C's depend upon B, but to B to finish, A should also finish. Right? So basically you can also define SS or FF relationship with two FS relationship. Right? So there are three relationships. Most of the time we are defining FS relationship. And I will tell you that some specific situation will come where we have to define SS and FF relationship. Now with this relationship, we also have something called lead and lag. What is lead and lag? The lead and lag is something like this. There is a task called A and there is another task called B. This is A and this is B, right? And they depend upon each other. Now, many times what happens that though the A is finished, but B still cannot be finished because of some other dependency. For example, in the A, some product is being processed. Okay, so like this, I will say it is pre-processing and this is post-processing. Now this is happening at site A and this is happening at site B. What happened? Okay. So this is pre-processing, this is post-processing. This is happening at site A and this is happening at site B, and there is a transportation required to put the product from this place to this place. Okay, and it takes 2 days. Suppose it takes 2 days. Suppose this takes 2 days. So what will happen? If the pre-processing is complete, so the dependency is met, but because the transportation is not the project team in the head of project team, we don't define this transportation in our project plan. But B is defined, and between A and B there is a 2 days of lag. There are 2 days of idle wait time. So though the pre-processing is complete, B will start only after 2 days because the product will reach there, half processed product will reach there after 2 days. And therefore, there is a lag of 2 days. So instead of this starting at this place, it will start after 2 days. And this is called 2 days of lag. Now, if the reverse happens, suppose A is not finished and you say that, okay, I will start B, then it becomes lead. The reverse of lag is lead. In many times it happens like you are preparing a design and before the design completes, you start development, right? You have like you want all the material to be procured before you configure them. But you don't wait for a complete, everything has to be there in the site before you start configuring. So suppose A is procurement and B is a configuration. So even if some material has come which is configurable and they are little independent and they do not depend too much on the material which is going to be procured now, you can start configuration work. Like if you are training people in batches, suppose there are 30 people required on the project and you are training them in a batch of 10. So your work can start when the first batch come out. So your training will continue, but here your first batch will come out of 10 people and you start the development work with these 10 people, and when another 10 people will come, they will also join. When other people come, they will also join. Right? That is called lead, which is pretty common as such. Lag is a little less common, but lead is very, very common. Okay, so let's see how we define these dependencies and how we define these lead and lag and where is the need of these things. Okay, so let's start defining the dependencies. So like you see that business requirement and system requirement, they don't depend on each other as such, but requirement document depend upon these two requirements. So unless you have business requirements and system requirements, you cannot really document them. So if you see, I need to make requirement document dependent on both these, but system requirement gathering may not be dependent on business requirement, or it can be. If business requirements defining that what system requirement should be, then they are dependent. So it depends upon the case-to-case basis. Let me take up here that they are not dependent as such. So I will say that business requirement document is dependent on business requirements. So I will select first the predecessor and then the successor and link them by using this command. On the task tab, I will use this command and they will link. You see, this link has happened. Now this system requirements. So I will click this. So whatever I select first, then click this, press the control key and then select the successor also. So whatever I select first will become predecessor and whatever I select later will become successor. And so now this depend upon both of these. And requirement approval depend upon requirement documents. Until unless you submit the document, approval will not happen. So I link that. Okay.
Quick question.
Yes.
Vivek. Can you link? Can you choose more than 2, 3 items, 4 items?
Right, like here in the architecture, high-level design will only possible after architecture, and design approval is only possible after high-level design. So all these three are in sequence. I will select all these three and connect them, and when I select multiple tasks together and connect, they connect into sequence, in sequence. Is this was your question? Zara, this was the question? Yeah, I hope I've addressed it. Maybe. Okay, and so let's see. If you see here, coding, unit testing, code review, rework, and module complete, basically they are all in sequence, right? Or not? Let me put all these things in sequence. But one more thing is here, is that the rework can start after unit testing as well. So there is a direct connectivity between unit testing and rework and code the rework. It not necessarily wait for code review. So I double click on this and delete this dependency. Though there is a dependency, so let's keep the dependency there, because we'll define it later. Let's delete this. So then it looks that as soon as unit testing is over, you can start the rework, and in parallel the code review can also happen, and then rework may continue after code review. Maybe you can check this later. So, but the module is complete when all these things are complete. Right? The same thing here. And I can connect like this also, but this is a little dangerous way of doing the things. I have a little better hand on this. Now, if I look at the test design and environment setup, though they are not dependent on each other, but environment setup will happen only before test case. So in test case, execution cannot happen without environment setup. So they are connected. Now test design and test executions are also dependent, right? But test design can only happen if you have I think you have the design approved, because test case depends upon those things. Design approval. So I connect this also in design approval. Now if these two modules are not dependent each other, then this coding is also dependent upon design approval. So I make this here. Now unless you have the requirement approval, you cannot go for architecture. So I will select requirement approval and architecture and connect them. Right? You see our things are shaping up now. Now, once the module is complete, these modules are complete, or even one module is complete, our environment setup can start. So this depends upon both the modules, right? And the ready for development depend upon test case execution. And then script, deployment plan, and deployment. I think they are in sequence, or I think the deployment plan should come first before script creation, because script creation is a part of the deployment plan, or they are independent. Don't know. What is this? Should I put them in sequence like this? And this will happen when but only deployment should be dependent on this, right? So once the modules are complete, the scripts can be created, right? You know on what script creation will be dependent on? Basically on design. I don't think it has to do anything with the development. And then this and this are connected, right? And this are connected, and this are connected, right? Our project is done. Rajesh, yes, let me unmute you. Actually, there were a lot of noise, Rajesh, from your side. That's why I muted that, and you were not able to hear because of that noise. Now you can speak by unmuting.
Is it okay, Vivek, now?
Yes, it's okay, absolutely. Earlier it was very noisy actually, so, and you were not able to hear me, so I just make a forced mute there.
No, not an issue. Not an issue.
Yes. You had any question?
No, finish it, then I'll go ahead. I had some question before the session. It is few that was very generic.
Okay. One other way of doing is that, like here there are two things connected here. Like if there is a predecessor, if this, oh, sorry, what happened? They're connected. Now this, and these are connected. As I connect this, you see it is, this column gets filled. Also upon ready for deployment. So I can go here, instead of 30, I can also write there as 27. If I fill this, this will what will happen, right? So you can either make the connection using this link, this column get filled, or right? Yes, go ahead. I think you people can also do this. By the time, let me get the answer question from Rajesh. Yes, Rajesh.
This model, which you see here, the rest was more fitting the waterfall model.
Okay, you need to be little louder, little louder, little louder.
Is it better now?
Yeah, much better.
Yeah. Okay. What are you asking? I see here this is more fit in with the waterfall model. Whereas in Agile, where we have the requirement changing with every 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
So in that environment, how we want to do this everything, because this will keep on changing very frequently. So there will be a lot of customization required, or is this MS project is more fitting for the waterfall model for the big duration?
See, my looks like Excel sheet here, right? Whatever you want to plan, whatever way you want to plan, you can plan it.
Okay.
Now, these things are iterations. You can say iteration 1, iteration 2. Let me give them name as iteration 1 or iteration 2. So in this, if you say iteration 1 and iteration 2, I will put up here some backlog also before coding. I will put up some update design also before coding. So all the activities of that iteration will come into this. See, I tell you one thing, this requirement gathering happens in the beginning, that is everybody knows, even in the agile mode happens, right? Some kind of backlog is created in the initially, right?
Correct.
So this is applicable in agile as well. Some kind of architecture and high level design is created in agile mode also.
Correct.
That is also valid. Only during the development, you develop the modules incrementally. Right?
But here in case of the design also changes very frequently.
The reason, no,
As
that's
far
what
as
I'm
we are
saying.
get baseline, yeah.
Not the high level design changes frequently. It's the low level design which changes frequently.
Okay.
See, if the high level design is also changing frequently, it is not it's not being done properly actually. Because if you have not thought of what you are creating, then I think you are in mess actually. You are not even following agile then. See, it is a low level design. It is a low level design and the modules which happen incrementally. And the concrete requirement and concrete design is not being thought of in the beginning of these modules. That is basically low level, right?
Okay, agree.
Right? High level, I know what I'm trying to achieve through this project.
Agree.
So what I do, so high level design is there. I put here, instead of just coding, I put here like requirement for iteration 1 or something like, or backlog for iteration 1, something like that. Then design, low level design, LLD I can put it for this. And then I say something kind of like specifications I can write.
Okay.
For iteration 1. Then I go through the coding. Then I do the unit testing. Then I do the code review. I do the rework. Module complete mean integration actually.
Correct. And then we start
integration. Then the next module, next iteration.
But in many cases, what happens here? Again, once the one sprint is ready, we are ready to deploy also. So in that case, we directly jump to system testing and the deployment.
Yeah. So then what happens in this case, that your integration is basically nothing but the integrating with the already deployed modules. Basically deploy.
Correct.
So before, as soon as you deploy, actually before that, integration is basically at integration
System testing.
server, system testing, right? So
Correct,
system
system
testing start with the iteration 1 and will continue till the last iteration,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Okay.
So the dependency of the system test cases, environment setup, or this test case execution is on iteration 1. As soon as your iteration 1 is done, you can start your system testing and it will continue till the last iteration.
So basically nothing again for the sprint. That's itself a small project.
Yeah, sprint is a small, like this is a
Project. Small project.
Right.
I understand.
This is an
Okay.
actually.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Now, what you can do, what problem can come that I don't know what kind of sprints are coming.
Okay.
Okay, so after first 4 I know, but after 5th I don't know. So you don't plan for them. So I think that the same question Sarupri was asking, that what to do in such case. So in such case, if
Correct,
you do not
correct.
have
Yeah,
any visibility, don't plan them all together. Because normally agile projects are T&M projects.
Correct.
Right, because you don't know the requirement, you cannot really have gone into the fixed bid project. So, because T&M modules and you don't know the requirements, the target date is actually does not matters to you.
Agree.
What target date actually matters to you? The target date of this sprint. Target date of this sprint has to be met.
As we were looking at the very first, the triangular constraint. So in sprint happens, if the date is fixed, module has to go, maybe less component will go or functionality will reduce, but the date is more important there.
Yeah. So you can go, when there is a challenge on the time, you reduce the scope.
Correct. Correct. Agree. What you were explaining at the beginning.
Yeah. Reduce the scope.
Okay.
Some defects go, next time we will fix it.
That happens.
Yeah. That always happens actually. That is the most common scenario.
And so in this way, this is for the more fit in for the fixed bid and the long project with waterfall model, like if you take any construction of big project, bridges and all.
No, I will not say. It is fit for every project. Even the agile projects are very well. The problem with the agile is that the agile has not been understood by people properly.
Agree.
lot of in the name of agile, lot of ad hoc planning is happening.
Agree.
Because everybody say no, agile, this is the way we work. No, agile is a name of a systematic methodology, systematic way of doing the project. It's not an asystematic way of doing the things. Now, if you tell me that I am doing a sprint and next sprint I don't know, it is not agile. It is only the gesture look agile, but there is no thought process going on.
Agree.
You know, by painting the walls, the home doesn't become beautiful. The home becomes beautiful when you clean it. Good people are living in that, and they are maintaining some kind of decorum and maintaining the discipline in the home. So when people say that next sprint I don't know, I say you have painted the walls by showing that my home is very beautiful. It's not the same.
I completely agree. Even for me, even this agile is not very much known. I'm working basically on the waterfall, but a lot of curiosity and the known whatever I had that I asked you a question.
No, I have seen in many agile projects. I would normally tell them that this is not agile, that you don't know the next sprint. This agile is that you are planning that you have a foresight of couple of months. You know that how I'm going to plan. You have some backlog already with you, and if this iteration could not complete its scope, you need to go into depth and find out the root cause. Add those things in the backlog. That's agile, and then plan it out again. That how to plan which is left in the last sprint, which should not happen. It means if 1 month we cannot plan, that what we will plan here.
Agree.
So if 1 month we not plan, we need to look into and see the root cause that why we are not able to plan 1 month. And then put that thing back into the backlog and then pick up the things from the already know that how, but that is not how always tough actually.
Correct.
Planning is tough, so people try to skip that. Do this. I think many of you would have already done it, but the people who are engaged in the discussions, let's complete this and then we will move ahead.
Vivek, just one thing I want to know. Here, code we have done code review then rework. Coding, then code review, then rework.
Coding, unit testing, code review and rework. This is what we have done.
All in sequence. All in sequence. Okay.
No, all are not in sequence. Actually, after unit testing, your rework can start basically.
Okay. So coding, unit testing, rework, and then coding, code review, and rework.
Right.
Okay.
Vivek, question.
Yeah.
See, if I take an example from this dependencies only, that coding module 1, coding module 2, and test case design. All three are dependent upon design approval.
Right.
So after design approval, okay, that means after one task, 4 or 5 tasks can start. This is what we are right now planning.
Right.
Can start.
Right.
Now, actually when it will happen, I want a control that with limited resources, priority should be given. Like module 1 and 2 coding should take higher priority than test case design.
Okay.
In general, I guess MSP these dependencies would like to start all the successor tasks. However, that decision that there should be lag or lead, either that can be achieved through lag or lead, or that can be achieved through prioritization. So how should we finally plan that with this requirement in mind that limited resources should not start everything together? Let's first do these 3-4 tasks, and then the same people can start doing those tasks.
Okay. See, the thing is that
Should we redefine?
So the thing is that by planning this, you can figure this out what you just told me. Okay, so the first advantage of planning is this, that you have figured out that 4 or 5 things are running, starting at together, and I have limited resources, so this may not happen, right? So make the changes the way it can happen. I mean to say, if you think the test design will be difficult to start at this time, you tell me when do you want to start this, if it is difficult at this point of time.
So right now we are only going on can possibility, like these successors can start after these predecessors.
No, that's what we have done by default, because we have just defined the dependencies. Now the thing is that that's not sufficient. We need to tell resources that when they have to do this. If you think the test design cannot happen at this point of time, then schedule it at a time when it can happen.
So while planning, it will not be known. So my question is that I want MSP not to take it as must, that all the successors should start after that one predecessor. MSP should take it as possibility only, that they can start. However, later on, that should be in my control to prioritize it.
Okay, I explain you this way. MSP is like a revolver in your hand. Okay, whom to shoot is your job. don't blame it to MSP. It
Yeah,
has
exactly. So yeah. So to rephrase, I want to know where can I control those things?
the
I
thing
don't
is
want
that
it to take it out of my control.
so the thing is that it is telling you that these things are starting at the same time. Now you see that, do you have resources to start this at the same time? If not, then make this as resource dependent. I tell you there are two types of dependencies. One is mandatory dependency, other is optional or this discretionary dependencies. The mandatory dependencies and discretionary dependencies, right? So mandatories you cannot change, but discretionary you can take a how you want to execute this. Now in this case it's a matter of discretionary dependency, that because my resources will be applied on coding on the base, I want this to happen after coding and I make them dependent on coding, not on, and I make this dependent on coding and not on this design approval. I remove this design approval from this. You know, this MSP doesn't do anything. That's what I'm saying. It's a revolver in your hand. It doesn't do anything. It can tell you that it is a mirror. Whatever you have planned, it is showing you that this is how you have planned. Now, if you want to look beautiful, then you have to do the makeup. It is the MSP will not do. It will just show you that how you look like.
And how to do your makeup is up to you.
It is up to you. So you have to do the makeup. Like test design look bad when it is happening. The coding is happening because the people are already like the beautician is already engaged, right? So you need to put. So you make it dependent on the beautician. So we say the programmer is there on the coding and the same person will do the test case design. So we will make it dependent on this. So now test case design will happen now after coding. So there is no resource conflict. Right? If you assign the same resource here and here both and they are happening at the same time, then MS project will tell you that these resources are over allocated. That situation will come later. And then you have to balance that situation. We say it is normalized to the labeling the resources. The resource should not have more work than available hours. So that if available hours are 8 hours only, then you cannot assign him more than 8 hours of work. If you do so, you take a risk of delay.
Yeah, so I need to have resourcing view also in my mind while doing
Yes.
dependencies. Otherwise, it will make some mandatory linkages.
Absolutely.
Or maybe
right.
after doing that resourcing, we will be able to see that these dependencies need to be changed now.
Right, that's absolutely right, but many things will be easily visible. You need not to go into the resourcing as a, like here it is very easily visible. I know how many resources with whom I am working with, right? It's not, I am not unknown, right? The decision is to be taken by project manager, not by any tool or somebody else. You can take decision at this time if you are seeing that it would be a risky item or it will be risky to do so. Don't do so. MS project is act like a mirror. It will tell you that how your project plan look like. It doesn't do anything. Everything is to be done by the person who is preparing this. And make this in such a manner so that you can execute the same way as you have planned. That is what it is planned. Don't leave choice on resources. Resources are not capable of taking choices. Let them take choice on technical matters, not on management matters. You define management matters and tell that what you are expecting and how it will. Take their suggestions, but ultimately decide that how it will happen.